what's happening YouTube? Welcome back to Sense of South Jersey with me, Kellen, for another fragrance video. What I want to talk to you guys about today, it's one of my favorite topics, one that's very popular if you're a classic fragrance lover like myself. This is going to be barbershop fragrances. I've done a list a little while back, maybe about a year and a half ago, on 10 barbershop fragrances. This one's going to be 10 cheap barbershop fragrances. Aromatic fougere barbershop fragrances that you can get for very, very little money, but are still good quality and excellent fragrances. So before we get started into this video list, if it is your first time here, make sure to subscribe to support the channel. I would really appreciate it. Make sure to like the videos to get the content out there. If you have an Instagram, go ahead and check out the Sense of South Jersey Instagram page for news and updates on the channel, photos of fragrances from my collection, and of course, daily scent of the day posts. Also, completely separate from fragrances, if you have a TikTok, go ahead and follow the Sabro88 because that is my TikTok and that is for champagne savoring and partying. So let's jump into this list. Okay, so the first fragrance on this list I want to talk about, not only is it an inexpensive barbershop style fragrance, but it's probably one of the greatest inexpensive fragrances of all time. I've talked about it a few times on the channel. It has its own review and it's been in some lists before, and many of you have actually reached out to me to let me know that after watching my review and videos of it, you've actually purchased it and enjoyed it. It's from the house of Lamani, and you guys know it is Lamani Pour Homme. So think about this as a cousin to Drakkar Noir. Drakkar Noir is greener, a little darker, a little bit more shave foam. This is lighter, has more citrus on the top, but still has that lavender green feel. Just a clean, inexpensive fragrance. I think it can be had for maybe about under $10. You can get the gift set when it comes with a body spray for, I believe, 14 bucks. It's definitely worth it. This is an older bottle. You can tell it does not have that silver stripe on it that the new one has. Does not matter which one you get. They're both excellent. Don't worry about tracking down the vintage for this fragrance. It's too inexpensive to notice a difference. I had the original one first, but I finished that bottle, and I did in the meantime buy one of these, and I'm almost done. Lamani Pour Homme, again, $10. Excellent barbershop fragrance, really clean, and for the money, you can't beat it. Okay, the second fragrance on this list is an inexpensive, very inexpensive fragrance from the house of Confenlux. It is Homme de Café. This is actually created by Alberto Marias, and it's like a $10, maybe even less than that. I see it for like $9.98. Think about this as the really inexpensive Enrico Poveri Pour Homme or Borsellino. It's sort of a dark, sweet, woodsy fragrance, but it smells a lot more expensive than it really is, which is nice. So when you want to put this one on, think about this as an evening barbershop type of thing, but it gives off that vibe, that spice. It is clean, but it doesn't have anything to do with coffee, despite the name being Homme de Café, and on the lid there's what looks like coffee beans. It doesn't really have a coffee smell at all, and I think that's a good thing. I'm not huge on smelling like coffee, despite that being a popular fragrance style, or at least it was for a certain time. But Homme de Café, really inexpensive. Again, you're talking between $7 and $10. Just a spicy, woody, slightly green fragrance, but it does have that aromatic fougere barbershop vibe. The third fragrance I want to talk about, again, a very cheap barbershop fragrance from the cologne house of Cuba. This is Cuba Black. So guys, this is a clone of Azzaro Pour Homme. There's no question the similarities there. This is the fragrance that absolutely got me to revisit Azzaro Pour Homme, because as many of you know, if you watch the channel, you watched my Azzaro Pour Homme review. I initially did not like it. I thought the anise opening was too sharp. This is a toned down version of that, and it makes sense because it's a clone. So they always take the scent and sort of just, shorten it up a little bit. And that's exactly what it is. So after I realized I really liked this one, virtually killed it, there's only a little bit left in there, and this is a small bottle anyway, I went out and repurchased the Azzaro Pour Homme, and I realized, yeah, that is a very good fragrance. It grew on me, but this is an excellent starter fragrance. If you're not sure about Azzaro Pour Homme, or you think it's a little bit too old school, this is a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit more wearable for somebody that is getting into classics, and it is really cheap and can be had for just a few dollars. You can get the whole gift set. It has an aftershave balm, a larger bottle of this, I think 100 ml, and 100 ml aftershave spray and body wash as well too, and I think that's around 20 bucks. But these things, try it out. These are between $3 and $5. You can get just a little bit to try it. They're great for travel. If you like that Azzaro Pour Homme, it's a classic barbershop. This is a clone of that. You can't go wrong. Okay, fragrance number 4, very inexpensive, obviously, and it is from the house of Pinot Silvestre. This is their new line, Acqua di Pino, and this is Acqua di Pino Cologne. So obviously, this is a complete knockoff, ripoff of the design style bottle of Acqua di Parma, which is a much higher end niche fragrance house that make all kinds of things strictly to the scents that they create. But the original one, Colonia, is an absolute classic, one of my favorites, the fragrance that brought me into this whole YouTube fragrance community type of thing once I tried that one. However, I got this one recently. Mr. Smelly always recommended it, and I actually have the one that's called Fougere, which I considered putting in this list. However, to me, that one just smells like a Christmas candle. This one is a sort of a bright citrus, sort of an Italian barbershop style. Yes, it's not going to smell as natural as Acqua di Parma Colonia, and because this is $20 and those go for around $150, but it is a lemon, citrus, fresh, clean scent, and in the summertime, you can't go wrong. It lasts forever on clothing, so it's great performance. Clean, citrus, think about that. It's not much more to describe with this one. Slightly, if you think it smells like a cleaner, I could sort of get that, but, let it sit for a second, give it a few minutes, and it develops into what I consider to be a pretty nice, fresh citrus scent, given the price. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Acqua di Pino. So fragrance number 5, this one, not only is it a cheap barbershop fragrance, but it looks like it belongs in a barbershop. It's from the house of Royal Copenhagen. It is Royal Copenhagen, the Musk Flanker. So Royal Copenhagen Musk. Look at that huge 8-ounce splash bottle. The beautiful blue liquid looks like that Barbasol or comb sanitizer that is always on the top of a barber shelf when you're getting your hair cut to sanitize the combs and brushes that they use from the previous customer. That's that blue liquid. That's what the vibe gives. Now, the original Royal Copenhagen is a very powdery, sort of a barbershop fragrance as well, but this is the one that I prefer, the one that I use more often. I've, probably used about 40% of the bottle, you can see there. It just is a clean floral musk, but it's not like a dark or rich animalic musk that you might get with some of the more expensive musk fragrances. It's obviously inexpensive. However, it is a long-lasting, clean musk. It's fresh. And it's cooling. It cools your skin. It's almost like it is just like designed to cool you off when you put it on. It obviously is a splash bottle, and the alcohol in there probably helps with that as well too. But don't sleep on this one. This is for, I think, God, I had this for $14 and you get so much of it. You can decant it if you like a spray. They do offer sprays. They offer aftershave, but just go for the big 8-ounce cologne splash bottle too. Royal Copenhagen is a inexpensive house. They have a few different fragrances, a few modern ones, but the musk one is my favorite, and it reminds me of a barbershop so much, and it's very, very inexpensive. Okay, up next we got a real classic. This is a fragrance that I initially will admit I struggled with a couple years back when I first got it. I first got a 1-ounce spray bottle and I did a review, didn't really give it a good rating. Recently tried it again, and I'm talking about in the past maybe 6-7 months, and really liked it, and then decided again. I started wearing it to the gym. It is by the house of Dana, and it is Canoe. Or Canoe. I've heard it's pronounced Canoe, so I'm going to say it that way. I got crucified in my first video for mispronouncing it. This is actually what I consider to be a sportier scent, believe it or not, because it's very powdery, talcum powder, but there's also, like, once you really use it, that's why I think the splash bottle for this one is a great fragrance too, because with the spray, it comes off more so just the strong powder or talcum powder smell, but I get citrus, there's a little greenness in there, some moss as well too, but it is a sporty scent, and once you have it on, you smell clean, you smell fresh. It has that barbershop talcum powder. Really is like the next step from Pinot Clubman aftershave, but this is a little bit more wearable, not as stuffy in my opinion. But you got to try it now. You got to give it some time. I had to give it some time, but once I did, I really started to enjoy it. And I recently got this splash bottle, and I've used a ton of it. This is an 8-ounce one. You can get the 1-ounce sprays or the smaller bottles for just maybe $10-15 max. This one was $30, but it's worth it if you're going to use a lot of it. And this is one that will last a long time. I've worn other cologne and still smelled this stuff on me too. So you can go light, but it's definitely a sporty. It's advertised as a sporty scent on the back of the box. They call it a classic sport scent. It's different from what you consider a sport scent today, but definitely try it out. It's citrusy, talcum powder, and greenness. I really enjoy it, and when it sits on your skin, it smells fantastic, and you smell really clean, like you just stepped right out of a barbershop. Okay, so fragrance number 7, taking it a step further from Canoe. This is the muskier version. This is the cheapest one in the world though, Wild Country by Avon. Look at that cap, it's so cheap. It's just like, it really is the cheapest piece of dog shit bottle. But again, it's a great fragrance. Just think about the same type of scent, talcum powder, but this one goes muskier. So this one is a little bit rougher, not as clean. It's kind of got a dirtier smell, but the talcum powder is stronger with it, but it definitely has a muskier dry down, can be had for pennies. The aftershave with this is nice. They have the full body line. Most Avon fragrances do have that. They come with gift sets. This one was bought for me by a friend of mine whose dad would wear this, and I used to joke about it. And then when I started doing reviews, he actually got me a bottle too. So there's a bunch of notes in there, but think about it this way: talcum powder and musk. That's what you get, and those are typical notes that you're going to find in the barbershop fragrances, and it is very, very cheap. Okay, fragrance number 8. So this is the final installment, if you will, of the fragrances that all kind of stem from Pinot Clubman, which is a famous barbershop aftershave. You know, we had Cano, then we had Wild Country, and now we have this PS Fine Cologne, Paul Sebastian. Two guys from New Jersey, actually. I think those are their names. Paul and Sebastian are their last names or something. They created this fragrance. Not many other fragrances from this house, at least that I've tried. This is the only one that I have. It takes that DNA and it adds kind of a sharper lavender with more spice, a little sweetness. This is the most gentlemanly of the ones. I think it's, you know, smells a little bit higher end, less daily, more so, you know, of a nicer, you know, occasion fragrance, but still really, really cheap. Still a barbershop fragrance, still a fougere. When you put this one on, it lasts a really long time. The nice part, if you are using stuff like Cano, like today I shaved, and you know, Cano was my scent of the day. I used the aftershave balm for this because it fit right in, and Cano doesn't make an aftershave balm too. So you can kind of intermingle these fragrances, but this one is, I think, the classiest of those three, and is one that will, you know, stand out. It smells a little bit higher end than it really is, but it's a great aromatic fougere and can be had for really inexpensive. Gift sets are like $10, at least here in the United States. You know, that comes with an aftershave, deodorant, and this, of course. So they have all the whole body line for Paul Sebastian Fine Cologne, and it's an excellent, cheap barbershop fragrance. Okay, so the 9th fragrance on this list is one that I wanted to include. This is one that I bought years ago at a rack store. They were all over the place for a while. The 50 ml bottles, you know, they were going for $4.99, right? So really cheap. You can still get it online for cheap. It is a fragrance that reminds me of a classic discontinued barbershop, high-end sought-after fragrance. This scent here is Carrera Black from the house of Carrera. But what it reminds me of is a cheap Rive Gauche Pour Homme by Yves Saint Laurent. So when you spray this on, initially, you get that sweet anise note. Obviously, it's not going to be anywhere near the quality that Rive Gauche is, and there's other colognes that may be closer to Rive Gauche, but this one, it smells like that. It's like a really inexpensive Rive Gauche cologne, and it also has, you know, tidbits of Drakkar Noir in there, but to me, it's a Rive Gauche cologne for pennies on the dollar, you know what I mean? Considering how much that goes for, whether it's the original tin can bottle, which is going to be the most expensive, or the square bottles, which you don't even really see as much as the tin can bottle because that's a sought after one. But that anise type of just, you know, shave foam, this is just the really cheap version of it. And if you want an idea of what Rive Gauche smells like, you can't buy it online or you won't spend the money. I totally understand that. This is a great alternative for a very cheap interpretation of it, in my opinion. Okay, so the final fragrance on this list, fragrance number 10. You know, guys, these are in no particular order, and I didn't save the best one for last, but I did, if you know what I'm saying. This is from the house of Roger and Gallet. This is Open Black. This is a 2011 release, but it belongs in the 70s and 80s, guys. This stuff punches way above its weight limit. This is insane for the price of $20. Think about Azara Pour Homme, Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, combine them together, it blows up into this monstrosity masterpiece for a cheap fragrance, but it does, you know, do its own thing. It's rough, it's musky, it's dirty, but it's clean, fresh, spicy barbershop. I really like it. Make sure to go get a bottle of this and the original. I think I like the original Open better, but this one is still awesome. You know, it's not discontinued or anything, but this is one that I could see all of a sudden just not being around anymore. And when I got it, it was an instant hit. If you like stuff like Azara Pour Homme or Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, you're going to like this. It's a rough, spicy barbershop scent. It smells so good and it lasts a long time. I've been wearing it to work, wear it out, I wear it to the gym, I wear it anywhere. I probably got maybe a third of the bottle left. And when I use it, I use a lot of it too. It smells so good. I sprayed some on a card. Yeah, it's just a combination of those two classics, but it comes into its own. It's not a clone of any of those. It's definitely its own scent, but it just has hints of both of those in them. So if those are stuff that you like, definitely check out Open Black. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for me. Those are my picks today for my 10 cheap barbershop fragrances. Guys, there are so many inexpensive and expensive barbershop fragrances. These are just some that I have and that I picked and I wanted to talk about too. So, you know, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. In the comment section, list your favorite cheap barbershop fragrances. Do you agree with my picks? Do you have ones of your own? You know, I would love to hear from you and always appreciate all the interaction. If you haven't done so, guys, make sure to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Check out the Scents of South Jersey Instagram page and follow that if you have an Instagram. And of course, if you have a TikTok, check out SaveBro88. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.